Jesse, there are also some names on here that I think would surprise some folks, some startups many people haven't heard of. How did you curate this list, and who stands out to you?
Thank you so much for having us, first of all. And what this list is really is it's a list of the companies that members are most interested in, the companies that are growing on our platform and that are seeing real momentum. Among other things, every startup on this list of top 50 startups is hiring. These are companies that are really thriving through this very uncertain time.
So, what are some of the names that surprised you? I mean, DoorDash and Robinhood, not so surprising, but there were some other companies unfamiliar to even myself, and we cover startups on a daily basis.
Well, I'll point you to two trends, and then I'll share with you some of the companies that really illustrate those trends. One is, we have put this list out for 4 years now, and we don't usually see a lot of healthcare startups on this list. It's difficult for startups. It's hard to get in. Data is heavily regulated. You don't see a lot of healthcare companies trying new things. But of course, this year, Emily, all of that changed. And so what you see is, for example, not one, but two startups that are online pharmacies. They're delivering your drugs to you. And you see companies like Modern Health that are focused on mental health benefits. And that, by the way, that is something that we're seeing a lot of on our list too, the focus on mental health. You also see a company like MindStrong, which is billing itself as a virtual hospital. I'll tell you, Emily, if you had asked me a year ago if I could imagine that a hospital would be a virtual thing, I would have raised an eyebrow at you. But this year, we are increasingly comfortable with telehealth. I mean, I had my physical this year online. And if we're willing to do that at scale, that opens up tons of opportunities for new startups. So that's just one trend,
Now,
Emily.
the
But I
big
would also
question is
point you
how,
to, sorry, I interrupted. Go ahead.
Jesse, the big question is how, companies are going to attract talent in a remote work world. And you've got big tech companies like Apple and Facebook that are being, very generous with their benefits, generous with the time that employees can spend at home. And I wonder if startups are going to be able to compete with that.
Well, in some ways, this is where startups are starting ahead because for a very long time, the big companies have had big salaries to offer and the safety of big company life. And startups for a very long time have needed to compete for the very best talent by offering things that employees want other than money and safety. And, remote work and flexibility has been number one on that list for so long. So this is something that, you saw some of the startups rush to change to figure out how to do that. Like Brex, for example, was a company that like everybody showed up to work every day at. Another one would be Brooklinen, based in New York. But nearly every company on this list has rushed to redevelop itself as a remote workplace if it wasn't already. And many of them aren't going back.